Right, very welcome along. It's Friday nights off the ball. It's Ger Gilroy here with you until 10ish. Maybe a little bit earlier. Will's here.
Even lads.
Mick is here.
Hi, Ger. We're here till 10 though.
There you go. The hardest working man in show business. Speaking of the hardest working man in show business, Cristiano Ronaldo has been carrying a lot of water this week, hasn't he? He's been carrying the load, and today Manchester United finally came out and issued a statement. The statement was terse, I would say, and yet I would say it contains a multitude. We have taken appropriate steps. We will not be talking about this again.
What are the appropriate steps?
The appropriate steps are that there is now there's a clock ticking, and with every tick, legal fees start to ratchet up. A massive amount of legal fees are being ratcheted up on both sides of this, and the law courts are going to decide: does this technically constitute gross misconduct?
Yeah.
But your social media activity around the club, which is one of the amplifiers in his contract, has gone up. So basically, if we come to like a settlement of, I don't know, 4 million on the outstanding monies, and then freedom from anything in the future, so we're done. So this is now, for me, this is what this means.
The World Cup seems to have provided a very natural break here.
There's money.
To leave.
Well, yeah, absolutely, in terms of timing. But obviously the finance was the thing that stopped it happening in the summer. And if Ronaldo is free to whoever comes next, then it's a much better bargaining position for him, because he can waive his wages to go and play for a contender who might be interested in taking on that shit show.
Which contender, though?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Do multi-millionaire/billionaire people in business tend to, like, so if this was me, who's never had any money and suddenly had own money, I would want to punish him. So I would say, right, I don't care how hard this is going to be, he should be fired, and I'm not giving him a penny, and I will spend all that money in court that I could just give to him on a point of principle. But I don't think rich people do that. I think, and that's probably one of the reasons they're rich, so I think they will just say, do you know what, even though it sickens me, I'm just going to give him his millions and get him the hell out of here.
Well, they have to. So when you fire him, right, he's going to countersue to say you can't do that.
Oh, I know, yeah, but I'm saying
that's why
I would rather pay super expensive lawyers to prove that we have the case over him, even if we lose.
Well, they'll make that case, and everybody will decide the risk for everybody is a dollar amount in the middle.
Exactly, yeah.
So
points of principle don't exist in business, I suppose, is my point.
Well, the point of principle is established up to, I will fire you, we're now firing you, and then you're suing, and then the lawyers just decide.
Settlement happens then, yeah.
That's what that is. But so, in that instance, Manchester United will say, we have fired him, he has taken a case against us, and an arbitrator has decided that this amount of, it's very boring.
Yeah.
Right,
but except for the fact that 12 months ago, Cristiano Ronaldo signed for Manchester United with Alex Ferguson involved on this homecoming. He couldn't possibly sign for Manchester City. That can't happen to our club. He's a Manchester United boy. He's going to come home and finish his career here. And then this happens, and we're going to end up in court and in the craziest television interview of all time. What a fall.
I mean, it is amazing, isn't it?
So the case for ripping up his contract then, for someone who endured the 2 nights of the Piers Morgan.
Did you watch them both?
I did.
Wow.
You are...
Well, look, nearly everything was given away in the
looking
clips.
for punishment is the nice way of saying it.
There was very little to be had outside of the clips that were seeded earlier in the week, which was our suspicion on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
That Piers Morgan did his absolute best to amplify them. There were a few little bits that we hadn't seen before, like he called Wayne Rooney a rat last night, which I don't think people probably would have been expecting. But the case for sacking him, or surely... He has admitted, because of his lack of respect for Eric Ten Hag, that he wouldn't come on in the Tottenham game. Yeah,
look, I agree with you, and I think that Manchester United have in the end they're going to have moral authority with their fans, and they're also going to have a lot of legal. There will be weapons, quivers in the air, or whatever the phrase is, right?
The other accusation that might matter if this was ever taken to a legal point of view is that he claimed that Manchester United didn't care about his sick child during the summer, and then kind of backtrack on that a little bit when he was talking to Piers Morgan last night and said he just didn't feel empathy, but that the club had actually given him the time off while his daughter was being treated in Mallorca on holidays.
Right.
So he kind of went back on that a bit. But that was a big claim to make on night one.
Yeah. And
I'm pretty sure there was only one interview though, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, it was only one interview. It was stretched out over the 2 days.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like, the point was when he was pressed on it, like, God, I shouldn't even say pressed by Piers Morgan, because there were words almost been put in Cristiano Ronaldo's mouth throughout the 90 minutes of the interview. But at one point last night, he asked about whether Cristiano Ronaldo wanted to move in the summer just gone by, and Cristiano Ronaldo entirely sidestepped the question and went back to the issue of his sick daughter and said the club didn't care, but never answered the fact that he was looking for a new club.
was it the '06 World Cup that Sky have put footage out of him being asked about it? Or it must have been later. Was it 2010? When did he leave United?
Yeah, after
2010 World Cup.
Yeah, no, it was 2009 after the.
Okay.
So after they won the Champions League in 2008, there was a kind of I want to go to Real Madrid, but it was like
It took a whole
an
year.
agreement of giving us one more season. Yeah.
Okay, so it must have been before the Euros in '08.
Possibly, yeah. That was when he was trying to get
heavily
out.
linked
Yeah.
to Madrid, yeah.
And the press officer was like, "You can't ask that question. You can't ask that question." And Ronaldo was like, why are they still asking me these questions about this thing that I've said I'm not going to answer? What? Who dares to? And that was like so long ago, before he became the global marketing phenomenon that he is at the moment.
Did you see the first question last night? Kevin Kilbana's
Nobody
called.
else watched this.
Yeah, well, Kevin Kilbana's called it. Kev watched it, and he said it was the worst question he has ever seen. In an
Wow.
interview. It started with Piers Morgan saying, and this is meant to be the hard-hitting moment, so that you get the big forward sell where Piers is at the desk and he's saying, you'll hear what he really thinks about Leo Messi, what he really has to say about Eric Ten Hag.
I've seen the clip, but go on.
The clip then starts with, do you have more money in the bank or Instagram followers? And
That was where he called Rooney a rat. I was just about to mention that. And it was the two of them giggling away about how it's like... it's gross, like, are laughing about how many Instagram followers and how much money he has and how that will annoy Wayne Rooney and the other rats. It's actually like...
Who said that will annoy Wayne Rooney and the other rats?
well, no, first of all, Morgan said, is it just another thing to annoy Wayne Rooney? And he goes, yes, him and the other rats.
Oh, right, okay. Well, you know, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. Is that the takeaway here, ultimately?
I think we've seen who Cristiano Ronaldo is for a long, long time. Actually, I have to say, like, mainly I find this all very funny, right? As in the whole thing, it's like there's nobody involved that I'm invested in any way that I feel particularly sorry for or anything like that. But I also think that I'm kind of glad that he's done this, and I think he's kind of exposed himself a little bit to a large number of people that I think would either be in denial about it or, you know, just have him on this pedestal that I think people still will. Don't get me wrong, he will have a huge, huge fan base after this, as he did before, but I think it will be slightly lessened, and I think that's absolutely no harm.
As an antidote to that, this weekend, the Pirsig take on Ballygunner. It's about as far away from that as you can get, isn't it?
It's a different type of sport, all right, yeah. The Pirsig Ballygunner, what do you think? I heard, actually, I think it was you, Ger. We were talking about Napirsig. I think it was, maybe it was in the quiz. They were answering the quiz last week, wasn't it? And you were kind of like Napirsig and Ballyhale, the showdown. And I was like, did I miss Ballygunner going out?
I obviously meant Ballygunner.
You must have.
Oh, maybe you actually said Ballygunner and I just heard it wrong as Ballyhale.
I'm pretty sure I did, because that was the aim of the game. And then it's like...
I was thinking we were heading towards this sort of...
We're due another Ballygunner, Ballyhale, right? Because obviously that's, you know...
Ballygunner were very impressive 2 weeks ago, considering it was 13 weeks they had off since the Waterford final. People wonder if they were going to be rusty, like when you're going up against the tip champions who had played quite a bit over the last 2 weeks, and Ballygunner just took them apart.
13 weeks off.
Yeah.
Had it been? Something went wrong in the...
I think next year this has to change. Like the Carlow champions beat St Mullins beat Ferns last week, and they had a combined 27 weeks off beforehand between them, 14 and 13 respectively.
I think that sounds worse than it is, because is it not like we finished the Waterford Championship early, you are now in your off-season, come back and we'll get ready for the Munster Championship, and then you'll go to the county or we'll go into the club league, or, you know, or maybe there's 2 off-seasons. It's a long year, you know. Well,
why would you not just play the championship before the Munster Championship, so that, like, you know, why would you have
I think every county is different. So I think what Waterford and Wexford in particular do is I think they play off the hurling championship and then play off the football championship, and a lot of counties go 1 week on, 1 week off, so they kind of do it in half the time.
Wexford are changing it now next year as a result, I think, of suggestions. So they're going to do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off hurling football next year, which definitely feels like you're going to give your club teams more opportunity to be in good form by the time that comes around. Like, it is fairly remarkable to be able to come out after 13 weeks without a competitive game and to blitz another team who's at the same level as you.
Yeah, exactly. Another county champion. Yeah, it's not exactly a warm-up game.
No.
Yeah.
My understanding is next year the windows are probably going to be a little bit tighter from the end of county championships and provincial as well, because when the county board sat down to draw out their championships last year, they weren't aware of when the provincials were due to start. So the gaps ended up being a little bit bigger than maybe first anticipated. I think some of them were thinking that the provincials would actually start a bit earlier than they did. So they obviously had to put their games programme out for the year, and then the provincial councils made their draws and decided when it was going to be played. So next year it might be a bit smoother. This year might be a bit of an anomaly in that regard.
So apart from the police state, the player well-being, the thousands of people who have died for the unnecessary staging of a World Cup at a time when it's not traditionally on, what are you looking forward to about the World Cup?
Well, you can't have a beer in the stadium now, as of today.
Has that been finally confirmed?
Seems to be fairly
I thought
strong.
they were just going to hide the beers like it was kind of the brown paper
you can buy
bag.
it in the rich hospitality areas, but not in general sale in the beer, which is obviously against what Budweiser and FIFA had agreed with Qatar. So they dropped it a couple of days before the World Cup.
You could only get the non-alcoholic stuff in the Stade de France when we played Sweden. So this isn't that big a deal.
It's a World Cup thing that was part of the agreement, I think. So that's what the big deal is. I don't know if people missing out on their beer during the game is necessarily a massive scandal. I think
you
it's
mean
more
they've
that
changed
yes.
something to help have the thing in Qatar when they said nothing would change. It was going to be in the summer. Remember, this was going to be in the summer.
I'm sure Budweiser's $19.5 million has been well spent. Now they can't sell at the grounds.
But on what we're looking forward to the World Cup, I definitely am not looking for. I find it very, very difficult. I was having a conversation in the office the other day where it was like a big conversation about Qatar and everything that's going on and how people are going to be treated over there and what we think the issues are going to be over the next month. And it was a kind of the follow-up was like, who do you think is going to win the World Cup? And like it was a visceral, like, I can't put my head into that space. I don't care.
I would like.
No, I'm not saying I mean on the direct, you have to.
Right, so you've had time to think about it now.
But so what are you asking me?
Who's going to win the World Cup?
I think a European team's going to win the World Cup. I think that this whole Brazil-Argentina love-in, I think, will come a cropper somewhere, and a well-organised European team such as
Spain,
the Netherlands.
Oh wow!
Possibly, yeah.
The Netherlands, of course, famously have lost 3 World Cups and never won it.
Yeah. Did I hear that somewhere? I'm just throwing it out there. I don't have a pick as such.
I'd be amazed if Luis van Gaal
one of those teams will
finish his career at this stage with the World Cup. That would be, it would be truly remarkable. He was at one stage one of the best and most innovative coaches in European football.
Yeah,
and he made them very functional in 14 too, with not a particularly talented group of players.
Were they not very talented?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they were more talented than this group.
Did they not just have like a couple of bad central midfielders, or one bad central midfielder and one bad central defender, but otherwise they were actually really good? Did you not have Arjen Robben in his team?
I think they were a better team in 2010. The one that got to the final.
Am I mistaken?
Sorry, I'm talking about 2010 as well, actually. So was sure.
I think Van Gaal 14, where they had the run to the semi-finals and the penalty shootouts, and
who was
lost
the manager in
Argentina
10?
ultimately.
Oh,
can't remember. That's
one I put everybody on the spot there.
That's
Sorry,
off the Google machine.
But that was one that got to the final of Spain, and it was Nigel de Jong and Van Bommel just clattering people all the way through the World Cup. Nigel de Jong not sent off in the final.
I was thinking about Van Gaal in 14.
Bert van Marwijk.
There we go, Van Marwijk. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're overdue a good Dutch team. I have to say. I just don't know whether this is necessarily the one. I don't know. I see. It's like Germany aren't in great form. France, all their midfielders are injured. Italy aren't even there. Spain don't seem like they're anywhere close to their team of the 3 tournaments.
No, but you don't need to be that close.
But I just feel like one of them are going to pull it out in a way that I think Nathan has a prediction that Serbia. I think he has a little bet on that Serbia will be the last standing European team. Which is an interesting idea. Serbia is certainly, I think, good, but I think the idea that they're going to that would be semi-finals. Maybe you would imagine. I just can't see one of those European teams not.
Somebody was making the case for Denmark during the week.
Over the course of the week,
that actually Denmark are a better team now than they were when they reached semi-finals. I'm not sure. I think there was a lot of emotion involved in that, but at the same time, like a couple of back-to-back penalty wins, suddenly you're in the semi-finals.
Yeah,
you know.
We haven't even mentioned England, actually.
Yeah.
England are due to play like maybe Qatar in the second round. So
No,
you're thinking
Qatar are not getting out of their group. Linfield beat Qatar. Like,
Qatar are getting out of the group.
there's not a hope. Qatar are going to get hammered by Ecuador. I have watched some World Cup in the past where the referees always help the home nations. I know.
This has got to be by 20.
But South Africa...
They beat France.
Didn't get out of the group though.
They beat France. I don't know. It's an easy group. We'll see. Qatar were very, very poor against Ireland.
Yeah, I like Spain.
They made Ireland look good.
I like Spain a bit more than Mick. I think Spain's problem is exactly what they had the European Championships last year, which is a lack of a centre forward, which they had when they won their World Cup and European Championships. But behind that, they actually have a very solid team.
Yeah,
They've got a very good midfield.
I think the French midfield problem is actually overrated as well. I think the couple there,
Guendouzi in the squad.
a couple of their young Rabiot might turn out to be the
Rabiot.
one that got away.
I would fancy Argentina more than Brazil if we're going to look at the two favourites going into the tournament, though. I think that Argentina team are very functional with the greatest player of all time, more determined than ever to try and win a World Cup.
I know, but he's not the same player.
They're very old.
He's not, but he's been very good for PSG this season.
I know, but it's PSG. Do you know?
Appreciate that.
95% of the possession, 95% of the time.
He's nicely rested. He's going into this tournament ready to go. He's got Martinez and Dybala to potentially feed the ball to this time, and he would probably have won a World Cup in 2014 if Higuain scored in the final. So,
one Dutch story, just before, because I forgot to mention it a few minutes ago, that I think will be a story next week. They have a 38-year-old goalkeeper from Ajax who has one cap, who's going to be playing for them in the World Cup. I just think, how does that happen in your life?
I don't know.
Kind of incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, like if that was to happen to the Irish rugby team, somebody with one cap is playing in the World Cup, it's ridiculous. It's like, Lewis Van Gaal, football nation, like one of the most developed football nations in the world, and they're like, this is what happens in a tournament.
Yeah, not just someone with one cap, but someone who's 38 years old and has had their entire career behind them and is coming into the World Cup with one cap. I think it's deadly.
Maybe he'll go on to now have like
save a load of penalties.
70 caps over the next 6 years and play to 44, and he'll be like, you should have been playing before.
I know.
Wasn't ready.
No sign of Tim Krul to come off the bench and save penalties this time, though, unfortunately.
The whole, Emi Martinez in goals for Argentina, first choice. Yeah.
So expect some time wasting from Argentina at this World Cup, folks.
I mean, look, I'm all in favour of it. It's your team that's doing it. 8 bookings for Aston Villa against Manchester United. I think 6 of them were for time wasting, pretty much.
Yeah. Martinez remarkably only has 2 bookings for time wasting this year, but they have been in the last 2 games. People are on to him at last.
Yeah, they've picked it up. Okay, so that's happening. Ireland are playing Australia. We're going to talk with Brian Driscoll about that a little bit later on. This Australian team, right? It's not the same team that played Italy. It's the same team that played France.
Yeah.
They've Will Skelton on the bench. I don't know if you got the opportunity to look at the highlights. If you haven't, I'm sure there's YouTube highlights of the France game. It was unbelievable. It was dark. It was the Stade de France. The stadium was full. The French were feeling themselves. They were dominant for a little while, and then Australia just started to run in tries from under their own posts, and it was amazing. So this game should be amazing, and I think there's a good chance Ireland lose. I'd be amazed if we cover the 12-point spread. And
12 points.
I think we should
Such disrespect to Australia.
Just make sure you're watching this game on Saturday evening.
What do you think, 8 o'clock?
It's
not bad, is it?
You know what I like? Games under lights.
Yeah.
Irish people love games under lights.
I do like the 5:30 kick-off in November, though, that we had for South Africa, but I think 8 might be a little bit late, but it's okay. Better than 1 o'clock.
The 1 o'clock kickoffs. It's we're the best team in the world. What are you doing next kick-off at 1 o'clock?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, England...
the game was actually not bad in terms of it being relatively competitive.
England, New Zealand's on a 5:30. There's no football, obviously, with the World Cup about to start. So if you're looking for a kind of a sporting Saturday, 5:30 England, New Zealand at Twickenham, followed by Ireland, Australia at 8 o'clock. If you're not going to the Viva, is not a bad way to spend your Saturday evening.
No, it's pretty good. Ireland are mad favourites for this game, and look, they've got to perform when they're mad favourites.
I wonder how much of that is informed by last week and Italy's slip up, albeit there are 11 players coming back in.
Yeah,
you can't read a whole lot.
It's not the same team at all, especially in a touring. It's a touring squad as well. Like, it's not like. That would be different than like a team against Italy in the Six Nations where you could pick like form players from the week before or whatever. This is just like, there's obviously going to be a group. I don't know. I think it's a very different situation. I I don't know. I think it's weirdly disrespectful to Australia. The idea that Ireland can just assume we're going to beat Australia
by 10
points.
points.
I don't know where this came from. I don't know if we've ever been in that position, really. You know.
No, I mean, like when we went down there and won a Test series, it was the first time in our history that we
in
won a Test
2018,
series.
that was I feel like people gloss over that a little bit into how big achievement that was. You know,
We had drawn one before in our history. We had won down there once, I think. It's like they've always been able to just beat us in the last minute, like historically.
1991, yeah. What you were saying, you were talking to Matt Williams, was it yesterday morning, about is it the right thing to pick the full team? I was thinking about that. Like, I like that what we've done this November is bring in 2 or 3 guys as opposed to 7 or 8 guys. Because they're like the likes of Jimmy O'Brien now has like real test match experience with Johnny Sexton on the team and Gibson Park on the team and a full pack ahead of him. You just learn so much. Like, so he is now a genuine contender for the World Cup. Whereas if he'd been just playing like in half a team this week and a backup team last week, then we don't know more about him.
They've obviously decided they feel like they have enough now, and they're not desperately casting around for any more depth in any of the positions. And ultimately, as Brian O'Driscoll will say later on, the proof will be in the pudding in a year's time. Like, there's 2 weeks between the South Africa game and the quarter final. I think I'm right about that. Or is there? There's definitely. We have 4 games in 5 weeks in the World Cup.
South Africa, the third pool game, I think.
So maybe it's 2 weeks after that. Yeah. It's 2 weeks after that for the Scotland game.
Scotland's last, is it?
I knew all this yesterday.
We can't take it easy for Scotland, you know, unless we beat South Africa. That's like...
I have it in my mind.
I'm worried about Scotland.
The third game in South Africa.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It is the third game in South Africa, but there's 2 weeks, and I'm right. So 2 weeks between that and the Scotland game. So you can put all your bodies on the line. Okay, everybody can go, and then you still have to pick the same team or your first team for the Scotland game because you can't.
Oh, you absolutely do. Even if you beat South Africa, you have to.
They're playing for their lives at that stage, unless they're already out. I mean,
the only thing I would say about Scotland is by the end of the group stage is when you meet
they're infighting and they're broken.
Yeah, the Dutch football team of Scotland. You know, it's like that's when you.
We are writing them off, right? But like last week, they were really good and could have beaten the All Blacks.
November. This is where they're all in tune now. They haven't spent too much time together yet.
And then straight in the team, and it's still pretty good. Bear in mind, this time next year, Finn Russell will have had 6 or 7 months of, not 6 or 7 months, 3 months of Stuart Lancaster whispering in his ear saying, "You're actually really good, Finn, if you would just get your shit together and knuckle down."
Yeah.
This is what I learned from Johnny Sexton. Like, a little chaos theory, butterfly wings flapping.
Wonder would Finn Russell be a better player if he was hanging out with Johnny Sexton for a month in South Africa last summer, only that didn't happen.
Yeah, it looks a great call by Gatland not to pick Sexton and Van der Flier now after this week.
It was really good for us, wasn't it? It was really good for us. It seems to have, like, Sexton mentioned it this week, and maybe it still drives me. It keeps me grounded.
Yeah. Perhaps not very good for him though. I think him having another.
Is there a possibility that he went there, wins the Test series, is man of the series, and is like, okay, I'm done? Do you know?
Yeah,
like,
possibly.
You don't know. It's unlikely. I suppose we probably do know that he would, like, he's desperately trying to get to.
I'm not even 100% sure Johnny Sexton isn't going to play in the next World Cup.
He did say he might continue afterwards. I think that's just like, maybe you'll all stop asking me if I say I'm going to continue because there's a Lions tour that he wants to go on. So
finish the season out with Leinster might make sense though.
Who's the next Lions coach? You know, I don't know. Like, is it someone who isn't Gatland and isn't too proud and will say, "Do you know what, Johnny? Keep yourself fit. I'll bring you on the tour." 39. He's not playing for Leinster or Ireland anymore.
39-year-old Johnny Sexton
goes to Australia. It's only Australia, Jeremy. We've just talked about how crap they are.
We always win those ones, right? Well, we won the last one. Should have won the one before that. I don't know. I mean, who are the potential Lions? Like
tens?
No, coaches.
Oh, coaches.
Like, there aren't a whole heap of them knocking around. Is it O'Gara? Is he in the?
Oh my God!
You're bringing up now how O'Gara and Robertson are going on this Saturday.
Maybe Gregor Townsend. That wouldn't annoy people at all.
Former Lion.
I
mean, are you being Razzie Rasmus style sarcastic? That wouldn't annoy people, or?
Oh, I think a lot of people. I think Gregor Townsend rubs a lot of people up the wrong way.
Does he?
I don't necessarily think he'd be a terrible coach. for the Lions, actually.
All right. That's the start
I'll
of the
take
show.
Andy Farrell.
What's coming next is the crappy quiz. And then in the hour after that, it's Brian O'Driscoll. And then in the hour after that, it's going to be some of our best material. In the meantime, it's time for this.